Officer, please begin the live streaming. Okay. So I declare the meeting open at, well, we're a little bit late, 5:35, and would like to advise that the meeting is being live streamed in accordance with the Council meeting's live streaming, recording and electronic attendance policy. By being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the City live streaming, recording and subsequently publishing their voice on the City's website. I would like to advise that should you experience technical difficulties, I will call for a 2-minute adjournment. After this time, the meeting will recommence. It is an honour to chair my first council meeting as Mayor of Mandurah. I want to start by acknowledging the commitment of my fellow councillors and our dedicated staff who work tirelessly. It has been my home for almost 30 years. It is where I've raised my family, built my career and dedicated myself to serving this community. First elected to council in 2011 and as Deputy Mayor from 2017, I've spent over a decade working to shape a strong, inclusive and sustainable future for Mandurah. At my core, I believe in integrity, collaboration and community-first leadership. I'm passionate about protecting our unique natural environment, fostering opportunities for young people and ensuring we provide the best possible services for families and seniors. I also strongly believe in good governance, ensuring that Council remains transparent, accountable and always responsive to the needs of the people that we serve. As a key priority for me as Mayor, striving for equality and fairness within our community. I believe every resident should have the opportunity to thrive regardless of their background, age or circumstances. Our decisions as a council must reflect the diverse needs of our growing city and ensure that our leadership benefits the whole community. Mandurah is at a pivotal place in its journey. We are a thriving, growing city rich in natural beauty, culture and possibility. My vision is to build on this momentum, to continue the work of creating a city that we can all be proud of. As we move forward, I will listen, advocate and work alongside this council and our community to deliver real and positive outcomes. I'm committed to ensuring that every decision that we make is in the best interests of our residents now and into the future. I look forward to working with you all and leading Mandurah with passion, purpose and a deep sense of responsibility to the people who call this place home. So I'd like to begin with the acknowledgement of country. I first wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we are on, the Mandurah people, who have met for thousands of years on the shores of these beautiful waterways as we do today. This is Mandurah, meeting place of the heart. Apologies? CEO, have we received any apologies? No. So important notice. Members of the public are advised that any decision made at the meeting tonight can be revoked in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995. Therefore, members of the public should not rely on any decisions until formal notification in writing by Council has been received. Answers to questions taken on notice? There are none. Moving to public question time. Public question time is to be conducted in accordance with the Council policy and the City of Mandurah's Standing Orders local law. Council have allocated 15 minutes for public questions. We have already received a number of questions and therefore I ask you to be concise without any introduction and avoid repetition. Each person may ask up to 3 questions. Members of the public who have submitted questions in advance of the meeting will be invited to ask their questions first. Following this, if time allows, I will move a motion to extend public question time for a further 15 minutes. While the City strives to provide the public with equal opportunity to ask questions at the meeting, public question time should not result in unreasonable delays to the meeting progressing to undertake the business of the meeting. Questions must not be accompanied by any statement reflecting adversely on the integrity of the City of Mandurah, including an elected member, city officer or other party. The City will make every effort to provide an answer. If an answer is not available immediately, your question will be taken on notice and a written response will be provided when the necessary research has been done. The responses to questions will be published on the City's website via unconfirmed minutes prior to the next ordinary council meeting. If a response to a question has already been provided, City officers may direct members of the public to the minutes where the response is available. So when called forward, please begin by stating your name and please address your questions through the chair. I'll now open public question time at 20 to 6. So the first question that I have received tonight is for Colin Vernon, who I don't believe is here, and I'm going to read the questions that he has put forward. And the questions are, the subject is trees dropping branches at 84 Clifton Down Road, Heron. Question 1, why has the area at the back of 84 Clifton Down Road, Heron not been cleaned up? And if I can direct that question through to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, the City maintains the narrow public access way between number 84 Clifton Downs Road and Old Coast Road. Maintenance works on the public access way, including fuel reduction works, were completed by the City in late October, ahead of the peak fire season. The Old Coast Road verge is, however, the responsibility of Main Roads WA, and City officers have written to Main Roads WA advising them of the requested maintenance works.
Thank you. The second question is, why did this area stop being cleaned up more than 12 years ago?
Through the Mayor, City officers are not aware of what maintenance works have been completed by Main Roads WA within the Old Coast Road verge over the last 12 years. The City will, however, write to Main Roads WA advising that you have requested this information and for response to be provided to you.
Thank you. And the third question is, can the area at the back of 84 Clifton Downs Road, Heron, along with Old Coast Road between Clifton Downs Road and Mount John Road, Heron, be cleaned up on a yearly basis? And if not, why? Through to you. Thank you.
Through the Mayor, the City will continue to maintain the public access way, and as previously stated, the City has advised Main Roads WA of the required maintenance works within the Old Coast Road verge, due to the area being the responsibility of Main Roads WA.
Thank you. Next, we have Linda Knight, if you would like to come to the participation table. Yes, please. Thank you, Linda. If you'd like to present your first question.
Okay, do you mind if I introduce myself?
Yes, if you'd like to state your name.
Okay, I'm Linda Knight. Thank you for answering my questions. And I oppose the Western Foreshore development. I am a resident ratepayer of 43 years, so feel a certain qualification to make comment.
If I could interrupt you there, could you please just state your questions for question time?
Sure. Okay, I put forward a question in the COM agenda regarding the figures for new jobs, additional revenue, visitors, training, etc., which apparently was answered in the last minutes. I was overseas, so I didn't know that. Which brings me, I believe those figures to be grossly exaggerated.
So, Ms. Knight, your question that I have that you've presented to us is asking a number of questions, a number of points. Would you like to state that question?
Which I've just asked one.
Thank you. The question that we've received, can I read it out for you? Thank you. What evidence will the City of Mandurah provide to substantiate their claim? City of Mandurah agenda states that the Western Foreshore will bring significant economic benefits. Over 400 new jobs, $3 million a year in additional revenue for local business, and 750k new visitors and training and TAFE placements. And I'll get the Director of Sustainability and Economic Development to address that question.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Just through the Mayor. I'll take each of those in parts because there's quite a detailed answer to each of them. If I start with the jobs number, the jobs numbers associated with it are estimated using economic modelling as a way of estimating what's going to happen in the future. And the type of model used is one called an input-output model, which really reflects, it models the links between spending and investment and employment in one part of the economy and the impact, the flow-through that it has to the other part of the economy, because that gives us a whole sort of economy level of impact. and these models are based on ABS data, so we use the most rigorous data that is available for it. These job estimates are calculated by modelling the proposed capital investment, so that's the amount of money going in for the development, and the ongoing operations within this input-output model. And as a result, it gives us some answers. The project is expected to support approximately 75 jobs during the construction period, and that's a collection of jobs that are involved directly in the construction, but are also created by other types of spending that take place as a result of that. But then once established, the proposed Western Foreshore commercial site is estimated to create approximately 329 ongoing jobs. And these are various types of employment within a range of industries. So when we talk about jobs, this is a mixture of all types of jobs. So you could have 1 or 2 casual jobs, part-time jobs, FTE jobs, and the total number brings us up to around the 400 or so, and that's across the economy as well, so not just within this project. And just a note on the models, that these are the ones that we've used. They're used widely to estimate the likely impacts on the economy and inform government decision-making when you have to have an idea of what the overall impact is on the economy. And in terms of this specific model, we've spent a lot of time reviewing its structure and the calculations and going back and checking, and we're comfortable with the approach and that it's in line with the economic modelling that accompanies these sort of projects in best practice. On tourism and revenue, so the estimate of 750,000 visitors, and this is, when we talk about a visitor, it's not an independent person, so you can be a repeat visitor. You're one person, but you're making a visit, if you see what I mean. So the 750,000 we're talking about is visits, but you have to be a visitor to have a visit, I suppose. So the 750,000, that is located on the whole of the Western Foreshores, including the leisure precinct and the commercial development itself, and includes local visitors, not just tourists, and repeat visitors as well. The number of tourist visits to the proposed venues only, so if we cut that bit out and we're just talking about the licensed restaurant, the microbrewery, mini golf clubhouse, cafe and chocolate factory, is estimated by the proponent as about 135,000 per annum. That's based on similar businesses operating across WA. So this, when we think about taking a test to see whether they are appropriate or not. This totals about 370 people or visitors per day across the year visiting any of the proposed venues that I've just listed there, the licensed restaurant, the mini golf clubhouse, that list. And it falls within a reasonable range, which could range from below 100 per day in a low season to above 1,000 per day in the high season. And when we take that 135,000, that's about equivalent to 4% of the total visits that Mandurah receives each year, which is about 3.8 million. The spending estimates we use to calculate the additional revenue are drawn from the Australian Government Tourism Research Visitor Survey, which indicates spending on average of about $228 a day. And of course, that will vary by international visitors will spend more, local visitors probably spend less, $228 a year. So if you multiply that 135,000 by the 228 gives you the figure of around about 30.8 million in additional spending, which is where that extra figure comes from. And then finally, that's on the tourism and the additional revenue. On training and TAFE placements that was included in the agenda, these are estimates. We've negotiated these with the proponent to include as an obligation in the heads agreement and the sublease. So this would be part of the contract that we have discussed with them. I'll stop there.
Thank you. Would you like to pose your second question?
Yes, if I can find it.
Would you like me to read it out? I have it
Yes,
here in front
if
of me.
you've got it there.
In the City of Mandurah Tourism Visitor Study, there is a graph which interestingly indicates the 2014-15 figures peaking above the 23-24 overall tourism numbers. What major event happened 9 years ago that caused tourism to outperform 23-24? How reliable are these figures, and how can ratepayers and businesses rely on the projected figures as per the recently published agenda statement? Through to the Director of Strategy and Economic Development.
Thanks again. Great question through you, Mayor. So we use these figures in terms of the reliability. They feed into the previous estimates. But on your point about that survey, The peak of 2014-15, so in that graph where we have the big part, that if you take a look over the 5 years, and that's generally reflecting an upward trend in visitors, which basically is in line with what was happening in WA at the time with mining investment booms. We had really strong growth that was driving that growth in visitors to the region. And then when that's it falls off a bit afterwards, as WA, the economy grows less strongly. The survey itself, which is an input to the calculations, is drawn from the National Visitor Survey. It surveys about 120,000 individuals across Australia, and then the results are weighted by population and demographics to give us a reliable estimate to inform that. And they also, if there are problems with it, any data is suppressed, so it's not released for public use in calculations like this. We know that when we're using the data itself, it has been cleaned and validated and was within the levels of statistical confidence that we'd hope.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Lindley Thomas to the participation table. If you'd like to state your name.
My name is Lindley Thomas.
Thank you, and welcome to the table.
Thank you. My first question, you say that the operating hours of the brewery will be 10 a.m. to 10 p.m, but have any restrictions been placed on the hours that the brewery can receive deliveries or dispose of rubbish? Due to the close proximity to residential areas, it would be completely unacceptable if they had rubbish trucks arriving at 7 a.m. with all the noise associated with this activity. We acknowledge that it is necessary for any business operation to require these activities, but you can't suddenly install a large commercial operation into a quiet suburban location without having severe restrictions on its operation.
Thank you for your question. If I could direct that through to the CEO. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, it's a standard condition of development approvals where residents that are in close proximity to the development to limit deliveries and waste collection to between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays and public holidays. The 7 a.m. start aligns with the daytime noise level within the environmental protection noise regulations. These conditions can be applied through development approval and replicated within the liquor licence approvals. The 10 p.m. closure would be requested through the lease, and so we have included that in the key terms. As part of the August 24 Council resolution, Council resolved to ensure that city officers present to Council for consideration a Western Foreshore commercial site community consultation council policy, which relates to any request for extension of opening hours prior to any works commencing on site. The City has commenced the consultation with the Port Mandurah Residents Association in relation to this policy, and it is expected that if the proposal progresses, that further consultation would occur.
My second question, can the brewery apply for extensions of the 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. operating hours, and if so, how often and what would that look like?
Thank you for the question.
Through Mayor, sorry, as I said before, that the 10 p.m. Closure is going to be as part of the key terms of the lease agreement. As part of the August 24 Council resolution, Council resolved to ensure that city officers present to Council for consideration a Western Foreshore commercial site community consultation council policy, which relates to any request for an extension of opening hours prior to any works commencing on the site. The City has commenced that consultation, as I said before, with the Port Mandurah Residents Association, and it's expected that if the proposal progresses, further consultation will occur.
So if the brewery wants events, how can they do that, and how often? Is there a limit per year or what? So it's just...
Thank you for the question.
Through you, the Mayor, at the moment, the key terms are 10 p.m. and there would only be a consideration if the council policy includes any consideration of special requests, and that's why we have commenced consultation with the Port Mandurah Residents Association Committee in relation to whether that would even be considered at this time.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Stanley Gibb to the participation table.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. If you'd like to ask
You've
your
all
question.
been given a copy of or some of you anyway. It's pretty graphic. I can show you how much new housing is being
So
developed.
if you could pose your question, please.
Question? Yes. Due to the high density of vehicles, it's now 247 new houses being built in the area, going to a T-junction. We request that a roundabout should be put in place at Ferntree Lane. There is a new lane going into the new residential area directly out to Ferntree Lane.
Thank you. And look, sorry, apology. I think I've invited you up to public question time when I should have invited you up to public statement time. So I apologise for that.
Want me to come back?
I will get you to come back, and I apologise for that. I've moved to the wrong page.
Second turn.
Okay. And these are my questions. Apologies. Okay, so this is the next one. So the next question, sorry, we have reached 15 minutes and I will extend for another 15 minutes. The next question we have is from Lynn Stevenson, and I believe she's not here, so I will read that question. What has happened to the rotunda that was on the eastern foreshore? And if I could get the Director of Built and Natural Environment to respond, please.
Through the Mayor, the rotunda was decommissioned as part of the Eastern Foreshore upgrade and renewal works.
Thank you. The second question is, will it be replaced on the western foreshore?
Through the Mayor, no, there is no intention to replace that infrastructure or on the western foreshore.
Thank you. And the third question is, why isn't it still being used on the eastern foreshore?
Through the Mayor, that infrastructure had reached the end of its functional life and was required to be removed as part of the works.
Thank you. So the next person I have for a question is Marilyn McLean, if Marilyn is present. If you would like to come to the deputation table. Beg your pardon. Thank you. You're satisfied with the answer, so thank you. The next person I will ask is Karen de Bond, if you would like to come to the table.
Good evening, Karen Bondi.
Thank you.
Why does all the parklands lose their A reserve status? Surely the state government can legislate to cover just the revised King's Carnival area on the western foreshore.
Thank you for the question, and I'll direct that to the CEO.
Through you, Mayor, the city isn't requesting for the entire site to be excised in A class. It's only requesting the 8,000 square metres, which is the King Carnival site, plus an additional area to be excised from the A class reserve. The remaining land is still retained as an A class reserve.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Okay, the next questions are coming from Karina Frew. If you're here, please. Welcome to the table.
Thank you. Let's find my questions in the flurry of paperwork here.
If you'd like to ask your first question.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Hello, I'm Karina Frew. I live at 12 Tamar Break in Mandurah Bay. Question 1. Given the proximity of the proposed microbrewery to a children's playground and skate park, and considering the statutory obligations under the Planning and Development Act 2005 to assess health and safety risks, can the Council provide specific evidence of a comprehensive risk assessment that fully addresses the safety concerns for children?
Thank you for the question. I'll direct that to the CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. As the proposal progresses, if Council, depending on Council's decision tonight, there is a requirement through the Liquor Licensing Act that a harm minimisation plan is developed by the proponent through the liquor licensing. But if I can also say, as I said at the annual electors meeting, it is in the best interest of the proponent to have a family-friendly restaurant and microbrewery as part of their offering, and with the additional complement of a mini golf and chocolate factory, we would expect that they also have controls in place in relation to security guards in their premises, as well as the passive surveillance with the number of visitors that will be attending on site. So we would expect that the harm minimisation plan will also address any antisocial risks that may arise.
Thank you. If you'd like to put your second question.
Question 2. Given that the City of Mandurah's public liability insurance may not cover incidents resulting from a failure to meet statutory requirements, such as conducting a proper risk assessment, what steps is the Council taking to ensure that taxpayers and ratepayers will not be financially liable if an intoxicated individual harms a child in the playground or skate park, especially since this development could potentially violate the Public Health Act 2016 and the Liquor Control Act 1988?
Thank you for the question. Through to the CEO.
Through the Mayor, in relation to any harming of children, that will be a police matter, and that will go through the correct process. As I said before, there will be a requirement to undertake a harm minimisation plan in the premises, and the City will always make sure that we have undertaken SEPDED principles in relation to designing our public spaces to ensure that the places are accessible and safe for our population, our community.
Thank you. If you'd like to put your third question.
Thank you. Considering the Children and Community Services Act 2004 places a duty of care on the City of Mandurah to protect children in public spaces, and Hall Park is designated as an A-class reserve, how does the Council justify allowing a development that serves alcohol in such close proximity to areas where children play, particularly when it directly contradicts the City's alcohol management policy and jeopardises the integrity of the A-class reserve?
Thank you for the question. Through to the CEO.
Through you, Mayor. In terms of alcohol and the extreme event that you're suggesting that we should undertake risk management, as I said before, the harm minimisation plan will be carried out. If there are any incidents, then that will be a police matter. However, the playground, the skate park, the grassed area, the beach access that is already provides a place for families to go and enjoy, as well as now what we are providing is a mini golf, a chocolate factory and a restaurant and a microbrewery that does create a place for everyone, and families will go and enjoy that. And so we do understand that we always will be working with our businesses, and we also are a part of the Liquor Accord in relation to trying to undertake as many actions as we can as a city to avoid the extreme event that you're suggesting to occur.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite Mrs. Ward forward to the table.
Hi, I'm Jo
Thank you.
Ward. I've just got a couple of questions to put to the
If you'd like to
council.
put your first question.
Yeah. With regards to a matter that affects past, present and future public service employees within the administration and treasury arm of the City of Mandurah Council and historical wage theft within the City
I'm
of
just
Mandurah.
going to,
Sorry.
that is an adverse reflection.
Okay.
If you would like to refrain.
Okay, so would you like me just to start with the question?
Yes.
Okay. When will a redress scheme be set up for past, present and future public service employees affected by stolen wages so they can come forward within a safe space for settlement and closure?
Thank you for the question.
I'll have to take that on notice.
Okay.
Thank you. And your second question?
Question 2, with regards to the matter that affects past, present and future City of Mandurah councillors within the City of Mandurah Council, A, why are the City Mandurah councillors' emails not the same as the ones which they nominated with? And B, why are the advertised email addresses for councillors to the domain mandurah.wa.gov.au, and are the emails automatically forwarded to a private email address for councillors such as the email address they nominated with?
Thank you for the question. I think we'll take that question on notice.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
And then there's
your
a
third question?
The third one. So why does the City of Mandurah use 4 different logos for the use around the community and within the internet and written space? One for the common seal on the town planning scheme certified 2022, one with flying birds still shown on some signage within the city which contains important historical information, one with flowing lines shown on the city's official website mandurah.wa.gov.au and on assets, civic buildings and vehicles, one in the .com commercial space or trading understating space on the internet showing 3 bands pointing right, and this site appears to be used for community input on new planning precincts.
Thank you for the question. I'll refer that to the CEO. Or should we?
Okay.
I'll just take that on notice.
No worries.
Thank you for your question. Thank you. That's all the questions that I have received in writing. Is there anyone here that has a question? If not, we'll close question time at 6 minutes past 6. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move into public statement time, and the City has received 3 public statements submitted in advance of this meeting. Public statements relate to matters that are not contained in the agenda of the meeting. Public statements should not involve any language considered offensive, contain any statements reflecting adversely on the integrity of any elected member or officer, or exceed 2 minutes. I would now like to invite, and sorry, I'm just going to confirm with the CEO. So the first person I'd like to welcome to the table is Franklin Nannup.
I don't know. You've got to ask the only by the CEO.
Welcome to the table, Franklin.
Sorry? Look, I've been called in at the short end, but I'm here to say that as chair of the Winjan Aboriginal Corporation, that some members of the committee have spoken about the alcohol outlet over the Western Foreshore, and our response to that has been that it's always been a family area, and that's for thousands of years. It's always been a family area. So this was the main call for me to come down here. So I just wanted to say that Winjan has been involved with the city in talking about the alcohol outlet.
Thank you, Franklin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What did you tell them, Frank? Sorry?
The next person,
What is it?
can I now please invite the next person to the statement
Oh,
table?
we told them that it's a family area and that an alcohol outlet shouldn't be there. There's enough places for alcohol elsewhere. So the city has been in contact with local elders. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Franklin.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Stanley Gibb to the table, and I apologise, Mr Gibb, for calling you out last time. And Mr Gibb is going to make a statement in regard to traffic density.
Preference roundabout at Ferntree Lane because of the all new residents that are being built in River's Edge. They're all being vectored towards a T-junction at Silvergum Avenue.
Thank you.
The question is, operational modelling was done for this 10 years ago. Since then, there's been significant residences have been built down Wanjeep Road and Tucky Cove. Trying to exit T-junction during peak periods is impossible and will be in the future.
So thank you for your statement, and what I might do is get staff to contact you to have a further discussion in relation to that matter. So thank you.
Yep.
Next, I'd like to invite Jonathan Glout to the table, who's going to make a statement in relation to Norfolk Island Pines in Cox Bay. Welcome to the table.
Thank you, Mayor Knight. John Glowert. I represent 60-plus residents of Cox Bay who have Norfolk Island pines adjacent or abutting their properties. Significant damage has been caused to our properties by these trees. The requirement that these trees be planted one away from boundaries or from infrastructure is crazy because the trees grow to bigger than that anyway. So we're suffering quite a bit of damage to our properties, to our driveways, to our walkways, to our fences, to our gardens, and we have presented a petition asking for something to be done about the trees to resolve that problem. Residents feel that they're being considered a nuisance by the council officers when we complain because of the damage being caused, yet very little is being done to resolve the problems. I've had my garage floor seriously damaged. That's not being accepted as caused by the trees, but there's no other possible explanation for it. Me and myself and others have had to take medications because we're suffering stress and anxiety because of the problems these trees are causing us. We know that the council has a greening policy, a canopy policy. We're not opposed to any other form of tree, just these ones which are considered totally unsuitable for the environment that they're in. Officers who come and visit us hide behind the council policy regarding the trees and putting the policy in the time that we've been working on this has been rewritten. I will just
correct you there,
three times.
That officers carry out the policy that has been set by council.
That's correct. They use the policy, but the policy is only a guideline. It's not a rule and not a law. And I think reasonableness should apply because we are suffering mentally and physically. And we're losing the enjoyment of our environment. So I don't know how many complaints have been made to council over the years, but there would be a significant number over the last 10 or 15 years of the damage caused. We don't know how much money councils had to spend over that period of time because of the damage that's caused to your footpaths, curbings, roadways, reticulation, other infrastructure that's around. And it's ongoing and it's only going to get worse. There's something needs to happen when these trees reach maturity, which could be another 20 or 30 years, is council going to continue having to pay significant funds to repair the problem?
So Mr Glover, public statement is just 2 minutes, and I thank you for your statement. And I do see that we are having a petition submitted tonight, which will be submitted to us a little bit later, which will be then provided to officers, and council will look into this further. And is there anything that the CEO wishes to add?
Okay, thank you.
So thank you very much. Thank you. We'll now move to leave of absences. Are there any councillors wishing to submit a leave of absence form tonight? No, we don't have any councillors wishing to do that. Thank you. Petitions. Thank you. We do have a petition. And Councillor Smith is going to present that, so thank you.
Thank you, through the Mayor. I'd like to present to Council a petition that contains the signatures of 60 residents requesting the removal of all Norfolk Island pines that are situated with 15 metres of residences within the location of Cox Bay due to the damage to infrastructure being caused by these trees. It's requested that these trees be replaced with a more suitable species that's both native, non-invasive and more ecologically suited to the environment. I'd like to move the petition be received and referred to the relevant officers.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Pond. Thank you very much. Thank you. So next we'll move to presentations, and I don't believe we have any presentations. Okay, deputations. So before inviting deputations, I would like to emphasise that the conduct of this meeting has to comply with the city's standing orders. So whilst elected members welcome deputations and are happy to hear your submissions, we ask that you refrain from using offensive language or making statements that are knowingly incorrect, misleading or reflect adversely on the integrity of the City of Mandurah, an elected member, a city officer or other party. And deputations should not exceed 5 minutes. And I have Councillor here next to me who will help me with the timing, so everyone is aware once we get to 4 minutes that you have 1 minute left. So deputations were due by 12 p.m. today. I've received 11 deputations that were submitted by 12 p.m. So sorry, that's actually not correct. Got different. 12. Oh, sorry, I apologise. We've got 12 deputations. No, we have got 11 deputations. I was correct the first time. Motions carried at the today in relating to Report 1. Motions carried at the annual general electors meeting on the 10th of February 2025. Of the 11 deputations received, all 11 have been accepted due to clause 3.75 of the City of Mandurah Standing Orders, Local Law 2016. And I will just say that that is actually more than what our standing orders permit. And in the interest of transparency, I have allowed the additional deputations to occur. So there are deputations that are submitted for and against the agenda item, and in accordance with the standing orders, I will invite the first deputation against the recommendation, followed by speakers for. And we will continue in an alternating manner until we get to the end of them. I'd now like to invite the first deputation, which is from Helen Yarnell and Nicole Drummond, who are opposing the revocation motion. And I'd like to welcome you to the table.
All right.
Okay, welcome.
Good afternoon. Before I start, I'd like to thank members of the Council for allowing me to speak on this very important local issue. My name is Helen Yarnell, and I've lived and worked in Mandurah for 20 years. I represent the We Support the Western Foreshore Redevelopment Facebook group. This group has 1,400 members, 1,100 from Mandurah, and was created 12 days ago to endorse the redevelopment. We have remained respectful towards those who hold a different opinion. This deputation presents the group's arguments in support of the proposal and has been revised in response to members' feedback. My task today is to share with you the opinions of over 1,000 local Mandurah people. Our deputation relates to item 19 on the agenda. Firstly, we oppose motion 1. We want the Western Foreshore commercial site major land transaction to go ahead, and this is why. Firstly, we're excited about visiting the proposed chocolate factory, mini golf, microbrewery, cafe, restaurant, and improved amenities. Members on the page say, hope this development go ahead. That area's needed development for years. It will totally revitalise this space. Looking forward to the foreshore being transformed for all. Can't wait for it to open. Going to be so good for everyone. The revamped Halls Park will allow access to people with a disability. One of our members is a full-time carer for a wheelchair user. She shared this. We were run off the path a few weeks ago by the foreshore train. There isn't enough Acrod parking. We've had to park on the grass to attend events and had difficulty manoeuvring the wheelchair. Also, there is no seating for those who are unable to sit on the ground. I know the park will get a lot more use from the disabled community. In its present state, it is not even considered a suitable place to meet. It's fair to say that improved parking and pathways will make all our lives easier. People are passionate about the job opportunities and youth training that will be made available right in the heart of Mandurah. Jobs in construction, service and maintenance. We love the idea of our local TAFE providing training in specific skills needed. We're pleased that the proposed eating venues will cater for all ages. A group member states, the microbrewery and restaurant will give Mandurah another level of class. The building looks amazing and I'm sure it will attract a positive clientele. I have been to other breweries and there is a nice family vibe. Rental income will pay for extra amenities that the council could not afford, but we would welcome. Under the bridge amphitheatre, kayak launch, wider footpaths, better lighting, pickleball courts, etc. Finally, we are so proud of Mandurah's meteoric rise in the tourist industry. We've won major awards for great tourist initiatives that have already boosted our economy, and we want to maintain that momentum. This development will complete the foreshore renewal. We oppose motion 2, parts 1 and 2. We are not experts on council consultation processes or what constitutes an A-class reserve. The City of Mandurah's minutes and videos demonstrate expertise in these areas and a willingness to answer the public's questions. Our members would just like to underline that Kings Park and Rottnest, both A-class reserves, embrace licensed restaurants. The new footprint is only 1,400 square metres bigger than the current one, and that some land included in the redevelopment was reclaimed from the estuary.
Sorry, Helen, you've just had 4 minutes. You've got 60 seconds left.
Okay. We are of the opinion that the Mandurah community was properly consulted about the redevelopment and that the time for raising concerns has passed. One member took part in the community consultation from 2018 onwards, filling out surveys, going on concept walks and attending work groups. For 7 years, she listened to the others, gave feedback, and is now frustrated at having the project threatened at the nth hour. The proposal is in keeping with the City of Mandurah's commitment to growing and preserving Mandurah's urban canopy. Grass will reduce, but tree canopy will increase. Mini golf will form 65% of the proposed footprint, and its grass course will wind around existing large trees. As a former Seascapes Coast Care Coordinator responsible for community tree planting and the creation of Seascapes Interpretive Walkway, I value our natural environment, and I would not support the redevelopment if it posed a significant threat to our flora and fauna. In short, we love the redevelopment proposal and oppose motions 1 and 2. We're grateful to the City of Mandurah and our ward councillors for working hard to grow Mandurah into the beautiful city we call home.
That's your time.
Thank you for listening to our deputation.
Thank you very much for your deputation. Thank you. I'd now like to invite Linda Christie, who's representing herself, who's going to speak in support of the revocation. Welcome to the table.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and councillors. Thank you for this opportunity to express my opinion on why my family and I would like the council to revoke the decision to proceed with the Western Foreshore major land transaction. My name is Linda Christie. We have been residents of Weatherly Place, Halls Head since 1994. We have situated only 100 or so metres from Hall Park. Over the 31 years living here, we have witnessed and participated in many events that have been held in Hall Park, whether attending the Anzac services, taking children to the circus or wandering around the pop-up displays that regularly occur within the park grounds. The community-led fireworks, whether Crab Fest, Christmas, or New Year's Eve, are always popular, bringing many visitors and their families to Hall Park. To say that I am disappointed in City of Mandurah using the gift to the people of the Mandurah community and commercializing it is an understatement. I would be the first to say that the children's playground areas and skate park have been wonderful additions to the area for all of the Mandurah community. Once the area where King Carnival has been restored back to an A-class Crown Reserve parkland, this will be the time for not only the City of Mandurah, but all the residents and ratepayers of Mandurah to get to see what Hall Park once was. What a beautiful vista of the river, eastern foreshore, and beyond. The Adam family bequeathed this gorgeous park for a specific purpose, recreation. Leave Hall Park a Class A Crown Reserve, allowing it to be utilized by all people of all ages and all abilities. Respect the bequeathment to the people of Mandurah. I am disheartened when I see the state of our CBD. Sure, the Eastern Foreshore is being upgraded, but what of the businesses along Mandurah Terrace, Smart Street Mall, Gibson and Tuckey Streets, etc.? If the City of Mandurah are truly wanting to revitalize Mandurah to make it more welcoming to visitors, would it not be more prudent to make this #1 issue to achieve this goal? What happens to the Eastern Foreshore businesses that are there now? These businesses feel ignored by council now. What happens to in the event of a strip mall being built across the river from them? I am concerned, as are many residents, on how the proposal or idea for this Western Foreshore development was considered. Why were the residents, ratepayers along Leighton Place especially, not advised that a commercial strip mall, including a pub and a chocolate shop, was being considered 150 meters from their front doors? If the courtesy of a phone call or a door knock could not be done, why not a letterbox drop? This seems an egregious lack of not only respect but protocol. Hall Park is in Hall's Head, a residential suburb. Therefore, consultation should have been paramount. I note that on 20th of February 2025, the City of Mandurah's ad campaign on using Hall Park as a music staging event. Did the City of Mandurah consider the residents on Leighton Place, Amity Cove, and Siska Court when advertising this? Do City of Mandurah plan for music events to stop at 10 p.m. as well as the pub? I note that in Bustleton, the Shelter Brewery's band nights are really popular. Will they, Left Coast Leisure Group, be allowed to apply for extended opening hours for their band nights? I live that close to Hall Park. I can hear the speeches on Anzac Day, the ringmaster and the circus, and sing along to carols by candlelight. Depending on the wind conditions, events on the Eastern Foreshore, whether in the gazebo or events such as Crab Fest, can also be heard. Were the potential noise issues taken into consideration when formulating this plan? Don't get me started on the traffic debacle. Given the City of Mandurah's own strategic community plan, Hall Park is the perfect example of how the City of Mandurah can meet its community priorities. Regarding environmental sustainability alone, it should be a priority to preserve the natural environment of Hall Park. It should be a priority to protect the natural environment of Hall Park, and it should be a priority to educate our young ones on the importance of how Hall Park should be preserved and protected for future generations. It does not matter what walk of life you come from. Hall Park is and should remain forever public, green, open space for all people of all abilities and all age groups.
Linda, that's 4 minutes.
We need to preserve, protect, and maintain Hall Park so that our future generations have the same opportunities to enjoy Hall Park as everyone in this room has the privilege to enjoy now. The fact Hall Park is already a Class A Crown Reserve means it should be preserved and cherished forever, honoring the wishes of the Adams family. With our beautiful war memorial, it is a perfect space to reflect on the wonderful life we now have because of those men and women that gave up so much for our country. In conclusion, please vote to revoke the decision to proceed with the Western Foreshore major land transaction. Let's not divide the City of Mandurah any further. Let's keep Hall Park an A-class Crown Reserve for all people, all age groups and all abilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your deputation. I'd now like to invite Carol McCracken, who's representing Visit Mandurah, who is opposing the revocation motion. Welcome to the table.
Thank you. Carol McCracken here. Good evening, Mayor and elected members. I'm here with you this evening as board member of Visit Mandurah to express my strong support for the proposed Western Foreshore development in Mandurah. I also wish to disclose my role as Board Director of Tourism Council WA and CEO of Caravan and Camp in Western Australia, which is the peak industry body for WA's thriving caravan and camping sector. Mandurah, with the postcode 6210, holds the distinction of being the RV capital of WA and ranks third nationally for RV ownership. The city's achievements in recent years, including recognition as the top tourism town at both state and national levels, along with international accolades, highlight its growing appeal and rise as a serious leader in WA's tourism landscape. Iconic attractions like the Giants of Mandurah have further elevated its status on the global map, establishing it as a premier tourism destination. The City of Mandurah's consultative approach to shaping its future is appreciated, and I understand not every decision will satisfy everyone. However, the proposed Western Foreshore development presents an exciting opportunity to take the momentum even further and enhance the city's appeal, not just by adding commercial space, but by creating a vibrant, community-centred waterfront precinct that strengthens the economic, social and cultural fabric of the city. It will transform an underutilised waterfront area into a dynamic hub for both locals and visitors, enhancing community pride and developing a sense of place. Economic benefits. The development is expected to attract an additional 750,000 visitors annually, directly boosting local businesses, including hotels, restaurants, retail shops and attractions. This influx will stimulate job creation, supporting employment opportunities across a range of sectors and encouraging further investment in the region. A stronger local economy benefits everyone, including many of our valued members for our association, with increased revenue flowing through to create a more resilient and prosperous community. Social benefits, new spaces for community engagement, family-friendly activities and recreational opportunities will strengthen social ties and promote a healthier, more connected community. Increased visitation supports local pride and provides residents with greater access to high-quality facilities and experiences. Cultural benefits. Events, festivals and creative spaces incorporated into the development will help preserve and celebrate the city's cultural diversity while attracting visitors' interest in authentic local experiences. In a highly competitive tourism market, it's vital to continually evolve and expand our offerings to remain relevant and appealing. Meeting visitor expectations is essential. Currently, 83% of visitation is coming from within the state and actively seek family-friendly experiences and diverse dining options. The proposed development aligns with these preferences, enhances Mandurah's ability to attract and retain visitors. We urge you this evening to oppose Motion 1 and Motion 2 on the agenda. I thank you for the opportunity to provide you with our full support for this project that is very important to the future of Mandurah, its community and our vibrant tourism industry. Thank you.
Thank you for your deputation. Now I'd like to invite Brad Mitchell, representing himself, who's speaking in support of the revocation motion. Welcome to the table.
Sorry?
Welcome to the table.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, councillors, officers, for this opportunity. I support Part B of the motion to rescind the vote of the 27th of August 2024 and my objection to the proposed disposal by sublease for a commercial site on the Western Foreshore, this A-class reserve. My deputation relates to the Western Foreshore and the process that the City of Mandurah has chosen to undertake on the subject and the expenditure of ratepayers' funds on advertising a proposal that they have made abundantly clear will be going ahead regardless of any ratepayer or elector feedback. Regarding a thumbnail on this piece of land, on Joseph Cooper's title deed dated 21st July 1948, backpage transfer 10967/1958, lot 151 Diagram 13496 to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. In the WA Gazette, 24th of August 1951, Land Acquisition, Mandurah Road Board, Recreation and Camping Ground at Leighton Road, Mandurah. The schedule states the executor, Victor Adam, that portion of Murray Location 2 contained in the Certificate of Title Volume 1037, Folio 948, lying to the east of Leighton Road, passing through the location. That was certified correct on the 16th of May 1951. In the transfer of land document from Joseph Cooper Estate to Anthony and Henry Sutton by Victor Roy Adam in 1953, item 4 states, portion of Murray Locations 2 and 66, being the balance of land and the subject of title, volume 1037 and folio 984. Save and accept that portion thereby comprised in diagram 13496 unless portion already resumed, dated 6th of August 1953. The Government Gazette backs up the evidence of Joseph Cooper's title deeds, as well as Henry Sutton's transfer of title document, that this land was never sold to Henry Sutton when purchasing Leighton Farm in 1953. The above information makes clear who bequeathed this land for recreation and when. As stated, the reserve has been created in 1948 and 1953 while the land remained part of the Cooper estate. When Anthony Sutton purchased Leighton Farm in 1953, Joseph Cooper had already started formulating land for subdivision in 1933, with 22 lots on the estuary front on Fairbridge Road and a further 83 odd lots between Mary and Hill Street, all part of the early history of Hall's Head. So it wasn't just purchasing a farm of 1 or 2 lots. That's why he would have needed a solicitor to make sure what he was being offered for sale by Victor Adam. The City, via the CEO, has been supplied with enough information to clarify beyond doubt as to the authenticity of the family that bequeathed the land in question to the then Mandurah Road Board. That information should have been forwarded to each and every councillor for viewing. Any personal viewpoint should never take precedent over fact. At the end, the family that gave this land is secondary to the fact that it was bequeathed in good faith for future generations as a reserve. Otherwise, hand the land back to the previous owners and let them deal with it.
Brad, that's your 4 minutes.
Thank you. Failure of the City of Mandurah to heed petitions and electors' feedback by Mandurah Matters site is a concern, because if you're not taking heed, why bother seeking an opinion at all? Stop treating electors with disdain. Thank you.
I will interrupt you there. That is an adverse reflection, and I think the City has made it very clear that there has been a lot of consultation, but thank you for your deputation. I will now invite, the next deputation is from Pat Strawn, but Anita Kane is going to present on her behalf opposing the revocation motion. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and elected members. As a resident of Port Mandurah, I am fully supportive of the redevelopment of the Western Foreshore Leisure Precinct. The proposed microbrewery, which includes a restaurant, chocolate factory and mini golf, will be a welcome addition for residents and visitors to enjoy with their families. You only need to visit similar breweries in the southwest to see the enjoyment to families they bring. A microbrewery with the additional facilities they provide for children and adults of all ages is not a pub, which seems to be a current misconception. The revitalisation of the Western Foreshore will cater for all ages and abilities, and being the wife of a person confined to a wheelchair, it will enable me to wheel my husband along the revamped foreshore, sit at the restaurant and enjoy a meal, something I'm not able to do at this time. In addition, I note and welcome the increase in the tree canopy with the planting of more trees around the mini golf course. There are also the work opportunities for our local youth, many who struggle to find local employment. With South Metropolitan TAFE providing hospitality and tourism training courses in Mandurah, it gives them the opportunity to obtain work with the skills they have learnt at TAFE. The benefits to tourism, local businesses and the community at large are clear, and I am certain this project will contribute to a thriving, accessible and sustainable future for our city now and for generations to come. Mandurah has become a vibrant city in recent years, and the installation of the Giants and an initiative supported by the City of Mandurah and the redevelopment of the Western Foreshore will add to that vibrancy and provide another attraction for our visitors to our city. I urge you to continue to support the Western Foreshore development and oppose Motion 1 and Motion 2. Thank you.
Thank you for your deputation. Next, we will hear from Robin Ackwood, if you'd like to come to the table. And Robin is from the Mandurah Environment and Heritage Group, and she is speaking in support of a revocation motion. Welcome to the table.
Thank you. This deputation is made by the Mandurah Environment Heritage Group and represents many voices. The 2007 vision for the Western Foreshore Precinct was focused on being a place in nature for youth, with facilities and events that had a clear separation of distance from the commercial alcohol premises servicing the eastern foreshore. The City of Mandurah followed through on that vision, and significant ratepayers' funds have been invested in providing youth events and setting up the Western Foreshore as a unique recreation and leisure precinct specific to the needs of the city's youth and families. For the city's 2018 community engagement about the Western Foreshore, we can say with certainty that the ratepayers who said they valued public open space but also recognised the need for improved amenities and activation of the precinct did not contemplate that a carefully integrated commercial element meant a microbrewery with a seating capacity of 650, a reduction in the existing urban green space, and a valued Class A reserve being excised to cater for the commercial element and parking footprint. In the community purpose land policy, the city sagely advises the City of Mandurah has a limited supply of suitably sized and located land parcels available for community purposes. As the city's population grows, retention of community purpose land, as well as acquiring new community purpose sites, becomes even more critical. In view of this advice, it is difficult to see how it is economically and socially responsible for a city on the one hand to spend ratepayers' funds on reclaiming land to increase public open space on the eastern foreshore, and then on the other hand to spend ratepayers' funds on an application to excise a significant portion of a Class A reserve on the western foreshore so that public open space can be replaced with a commercial building and car parking bays. Excising a Class A reserve for the purpose of commercialisation and car parking not only risks setting a dangerous precedence for the use of our limited public open spaces, but contravenes the city's own commitment to the environment. In its environment strategy, the city says that it aims to maximise nature's place in the urban landscape and ensure it is protected for generations to come. It goes on to say, with an increasing population, green spaces often compete with demands for new infrastructure and facilities. Enhancement of these green spaces, including retaining and maintaining spaces, is an important part of balancing our community needs for a healthy, active and connected city. The city then commits to the following environment strategies: review and expand the availability of accessible and inclusive outdoor environments and public spaces. Champion sustainable and active transport opportunities to deliver an accessible, pedestrian-linked, eco-centric city that maximises nature's place in our urban environment. And lead by example and foster a reputation as a reliable and trustworthy environmental advocate and defender, ensuring nature has a voice at the table in all decisions. The city's decision to sacrifice a significant portion of a unique Class A reserve that is predominantly used by young people and families in order to lease the land to a commercial enterprise that has a strong focus on producing and supplying alcohol certainly does not align with the following policies, objectives and principles the City has committed to uphold for our community. In its family and children's policy, the City outlines its roles and responsibilities to take the lead in developing inclusive local planning process for the built and natural environment that take into account the needs of children and families and promoting community safety, and also ensuring children's environments are nurturing, culturally appropriate and safe. In its youth strategy, the City commits to ensure that the needs of young people are front and centre when designing and delivering projects, places and services.
Robin, that's 4 minutes.
Key objectives in this strategy are to provide infrastructure that promotes a youth-friendly environment and to increase the protective factors and minimise harm for young people. The City's Public Health and Wellbeing Plan specifies the following objectives and strategies. Integrate health promoting principles when planning, retrofitting or developing the built environment, and create an environment that feels safe and minimises harm, especially from alcohol. The City's economic rationale for supporting the microbrewery proposal is flawed because it does not factor in the economic and other costs associated with alcohol supply and consumption. The City acknowledges that there are social, economic and environmental implications for the community in its alcohol management plan, and goes on to list such things as drink driving, violence, crime, vandalism, littering, noise, as well as chronic disease. In conclusion, if the City is sincere in its commitment to its objectives and strategies for the community it governs and wants to maintain a reputation as a unique place to live and invest in, then the City needs to source a commercial enterprise that befits the vision of the Western Foreshore being a safe community precinct that, 1, preserves the A-class reserve in its entirety for the purpose of public open space and recreation, 2, respects the Aboriginal heritage
Robin,
and
that's your 5 minutes, I'm sorry.
memorial aspects of the site.
Thank you for your deputation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Renee Hardman, and Ian Cadwalla is going to present on behalf of Renee in opposition to the revocation motion. So welcome to the table, Ian.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to express my firm support for the proposed Western Foreshore development and to clarify several points that have been misrepresented. Firstly, minimal impact on the A-class reserve. The A-class reserve, covering 68,634 square metres, will remain largely intact. Only 1,419 square metres will be used to expand the already existing commercial space, located where the old King Carnival once stood. This limited allocation ensures that the majority of a valuable green space is preserved. Parking provisions. Concerns regarding parking are unfounded. The development will repurpose only 170 square metres of green space for parking, comparable to the parking facilities that existed before the bridge was constructed. Historically, similar areas along the foreshore, such as the site of the former skate park and climbing structure, accommodated parking without issue. Historical context of land allocation. Excuse me. It is worth noting that some residents opposing the development reside on the land which was one part of the A-class reserve. This land was rescinded and allocated to the developer during the development of Port Mandurah. It is therefore inconsistent to now oppose a development that benefits the broader community. Community benefits and vision for Mandurah. The Western Foreshore development is designed to bring Mandurah in line with the beauty and functionality of the Eastern Foreshore. Currently, aside from the offshore fishing club, Mandurah lacks a dedicated venue where families can enjoy green spaces, water views, recreational activities, alongside dining and social experiences. This project is modelled on successful developments in Busselton and Dunsborough, featuring breweries and family-friendly amenities. Unlike other venues which do not cater for children, the proposed development will offer a vibrant and safe environment for all ages. Additionally, any concerns regarding noise are mitigated by strict operating hours, with the venue closing at 9 p.m. nightly. Having spoken with many community members, I believe the majority support this initiative. The development promises significant benefits for Mandurah, economic growth, increased tourism, job creation, enhanced family recreational opportunities. It is a thoughtful, well-planned project that respects our heritage while paving the way for a brighter future for our community. Thank you for considering my views in support of the Western Foreshore development. Sincerely, Renee Savage-Hardman.
And thank you, Ian. I'm presenting that on behalf of Renee. Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Kay Bernard to the table, representing herself and other interested residents, and she is supporting the revocation motion. So welcome, Kay.
Thank you. Cheers.
I'm away?
Yes,
oh,
we'd like to
good.
start your
Thanks for the opportunity to come and speak to the City of Mandurah and the councillors. I appreciate the opportunity to oppose. I don't know, because it's hard how you've got it written, but am I opposing it? I don't want the grog pub over on the Western Foreshore. That's what I don't want. So, and I'm here representing not just myself, but other concerned citizens and residents of Mandurah, ratepayers, and a large contingent of Indigenous people that have come here tonight. And a lot of them are over in the other room. But in particular, I'm very privileged and proud to be putting forward the opposition by one of our elders who had previously written to the City of Mandurah, spoken to, and apparently her letter got lost, but she's spoken to the CEO, and it's very important that some of her words will follow and back up the Winjang Corporation, who have let you know tonight that they're against it. Got a message today from George Wally. He's another renowned, he's a bit crook, he would have been here, but he's having some medical issues, and poignantly he's supported Frank in saying that they've told you people that they're against it and don't want the pub in the park. That park's very special to him for thousands of years. He has direct lineal relationships to that land and the Winjang camp. And when we talk about the Winjang camp, I'm referring to the heritage maps that you all have now that clearly show, contrary to what the council said last year, that special sacred ground for these people, all of the Noongar people in this state, to transverse that land, that it's not just a dot up the back of the canals. The boundaries on the heritage maps extend well over and into, and I'm referring to the registered site 3724, clearly on the Lands Department heritage map overlays, put the boundaries well over the commercial precinct that you are proposing in the park, that Winjang and other Indigenous organisations are against. So I just want to be clear, at the meeting last year when the CEO said that it's just a spot on a map up on McClarty Road, up the back, it's not, and that's the boundaries of the registered site. The other boundary that's separate to the commercial, but what the City of Mandurah are planning to spend ratepayers' money on and dredge and build jetties for boats to come up and feed that pub, that is also Indigenous sacred ground, because all of the waters are registered and cover the waterways with sites 32696. And that's the reality. One of the women in the other room, there's two there that the CEO and one of the members went to see at the Coolbardie group during last week. They've asked me to tell you that they voiced a big no to this proposal at that meeting, so you've been told by them as well. They represent a large group of women. You've been told on many, many occasions that the Indigenous people in this town and elsewhere do not want this park. Today you have received formal notification from the registered body under the Aboriginal Heritage Act in a letter from Laban's Legal that I was CC'd into that clearly and concisely set out the reasons under the Heritage Act why you should not and must not do anything other than undertake proper consultation, which is item 2 of the motion to rescind what you've done, because you need, and you have a duty to act with the full knowledge of what you're dealing with, not pinpoints up the back of the canals. You're dealing with sacred heritage ground that the people for thousands of years have been meeting there. I can only say to you again that you've got the opportunity now to rescind this motion based on the information that you have before you, that you have previously made flawed decisions on, and you didn't have that information. I implore you not to proceed and to rescind moving forward with the pub in the park. It's not wanted by the Indigenous people, and in fact, they'll take you on 100% through every means they have. This sacred land has been used as a meeting place for thousands of years, and with them was even, this is from George Bolly, even the settler Joseph Cooper wanted that space set aside for family and community usage, and they don't want grog there. Please do not put grog in the park.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you for your deputation. Next, we'll move to Lorraine Morrison, who's representing herself and other Indigenous residents, and she's in support of the revocation motion.
Dear Mayor and Councillors, I'm writing to formally express my opposition to the proposed redevelopment of the Western Foreshore, which includes a microbrewery, and to support the motion that the Council immediately engage in good faith with the local Indigenous people and their prescribed representative bodies. The City of Mandurah must uphold its commitment to meaningful and proper consultation with the Indigenous community as outlined in the city's the RAP plan and other relevant legislation, for goodness sake, my mouth is just, obligations. The City of Mandurah has failed to undertake reasonable, meaningful and proper consultation with the local Indigenous people and authoritative representative organisation. This failure extends beyond common courtesy. It contraves to the principle outlined in the city's own RAP, which was meant to ensure the inclusion of Indigenous voices in decision-making. During the first 6 years, the RAP failed to deliver tangible outcomes because it did not genuinely incorporate Indigenous perspectives. The Council should rescind its vote on the proposal and only proceed after transparent and respectful engagement with the Indigenous community, ensuring that the conditions imposed by consultations are met. Mandurah is already home to enough licensed venues. The Western Foreshore is is one of the last remaining spaces that is truly safe and welcoming for children and families. Introducing another alcohol-related venue, especially in a prime family-friendly area, undermines the safety and well-being of our community. Instead of prioritising commercial interests, the City of Mandurah should focus on projects that support families and promote healthy, inclusive, recreational activities. Alcohol misuse has long been recognised as a driver of family breakdowns, domestic violence, financial hardship and mental health issues. Spouses and family bear the burden of alcohol-related harm, often suffering financial distress and emotional trauma. Alcohol-related violence is a growing concern, not just here but nationwide, as extensive drinking impairs judgment, lowers inhibitions and increases aggressive behaviour. So I ask, why then would the City of Mandurah choose to impose these risks on one of the only areas left for family to gather safely? Rather than a micro-brewery, not just me but a number of people were saying that the proposal of the City of Mandurah invests in a more family-friendly development, one that fosters community engagement without the negative consequences in association with alcohol. A water playground, extended playground or interactive recreation space would cater to people of all ages and background, strengthening community ties and ensuring the foreshore remains a safe and inclusive environment. So I urge the Council to rescind the vote approving the proposal until genuine consultation and agreement are reached with the local Indigenous community. Furthermore, I call on the Council to reassess its priorities and consider developments that serve all residents, not just the interests of private business operators. Thank you for considering this submission, and I hope the City of Mandurah will act with integrity and in the best interests of the entire community. And just within an hour, we just ran around and just asked people, are they really wanting this microbrewery? I mean, good, you can have a restaurant, you can have something where people can buy their food. But
sorry, Lorraine, you've had your 4 minutes, just giving you a 30-second warning.
That takes away what family days are about. You know, make the sandwiches, take the kids down to the foreshore. Not everyone is going to be afforded the luxury of being able to go to the brewery, have a meal. There's poverty in Mandurah. There's homelessness in Mandurah. There's health services that need adequate care and support here in Mandurah. You know, so support what's needed in the Mandurah area, not just business and thickening someone's wallet to improve what Mandurah is. We've got enough of that on this side of the river.
So Lorraine,
that's your 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Well done. Good on you, Laura.
Next, I'm going to invite Bruce Jorgensen, who's representing Ngalagala Budja Aboriginal Corporation, who's speaking in support of the revocation motion. Doesn't look like Bruce is here, so we'll move to Karina Frew, who's representing herself, who's going to speak supporting the revocation motion. Welcome to the table. Cheers.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors and esteemed members of the community. My name is Karina Frew. I'm an experienced professional in program design, community service delivery and risk management with a long track record of working with vulnerable cohorts, local and state governments and community organisations. With over 2 decades of experience in designing and managing high-profile government-funded services, I possess strong expertise in the development, coordination and implementation of wellbeing programs. In particular, my work has included leading major initiatives such as the country's highest performing Australian government-funded Youth Transition to Work Service, founding a National Youth Alliance, co-founding a successful national community of practice, and several years of private consultancy for organisations supporting vulnerable populations, especially children. My background includes delivering services that support people's development and safety, managing high-stakes contracts and multiple staff, and coordinating multi-sectoral collaborations that ensure compliance with a priority on community wellbeing. When I operated the Transition to Work service, I did that in Darwin. I lived there for 14 years, and our service at any given time supported up to 300 young people aged 15 to 24, generally early school leavers, roughly 50% Indigenous cohort, and a lot of young people that we supported came from families where alcohol was a serious issue and a cause of trauma. So I come before you today as not only a concerned mother, but also a highly qualified professional with an understanding of the potential risks and legal implications involved in the proposed microbrewery in this particular location. I'm not against beer, I like it, right? But it's about alcohol and children together in safe spaces. So when it comes to just briefly going through the legislative risks, I come with genuine concern. I've managed large services and I understand legal liability, and it's scary, not only for organisations but personally. So I'm come, with a genuine hat in hand here. But there are legislative risks involved here right now with respect to a failure to assess the health and safety risks under the Planning and Development Act 2005. There should have been a comprehensive health and risk assessment that should have been carried out by now before any other progress should have been done. There's a public liability insurance and risk exposure because if there hasn't been a risk assessment done that's comprehensive in nature, then your insurer, the city manager insurer, may not cover any incidents that occur. And if they don't cover it, then it's not only the City of Mandurah that might be liable, it might be there's a personal liability risk that I really want you to be aware of. So when it comes to the duty of care that each of you have, and all of us have in this room, to prioritise children's wellbeing and vulnerable populations' wellbeing, specifically for the Council, the Children and Community Services Act 2004 places a duty of care on the city to protect children in public spaces. Also, with respect to the A-class reserve, there's been much spoken about this already today. However, allowing a long-term lease for an alcohol-serving venue in this public space would obviously undermine the integrity of the intentions of an A-class reserve. And then when it comes to inadequate public consultation, the city is required by the Local Government Act 1995 and Planning and Development Act 2005 to engage in meaningful consultation that impact the community. And the closure of that process without adequately addressing key issues regarding child welfare and safety raises concerns about this legislative requirement. So,
Karina, that's 4 minutes.
Thank you. So, when it comes to the measures that have been put forward to ensure the safety, I strongly object to the term harm minimisation. As a person who suffered trauma in my childhood at the hands of an alcoholic stepfather, and as a trauma-informed care and practice practitioner qualified internationally, supporting hundreds of young people who have experienced trauma, there is no such thing as harm minimisation. It's an Orwellian term that is used when we allow an acceptable level of harm. And there isn't when it's our fiduciary duty to put the well-being of children who cannot advocate or protect themselves above any other interest as a first measure. So I just, urge the council to please consider the weight of this decision, and not just for the children that go to Hall Park today, like the kids up in Darwin at Palmerston
It's your 5
Skate
minutes,
Park.
sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corinna, for your deputation. Thank you. Thank you. That now concludes the public participation component of this meeting. Other than observing the meeting process and debate, no further participation by the community in the meeting is permitted, but I'd like to thank everyone for the very respectful way in which the questions and the deputations have occurred this evening. So thank you for that, and also like to thank Councillor Jackson for assisting with the timing. Thank you. We'll now move to petitions. No, sorry, we have done petitions. We'll move past that. Where are we? Oh, pop on there. Okay, sorry. The confirmation of minutes. I now call for a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of December 2024. Can I please ask for a mover? Councillor Schumacher and Councillor Smith. Is there anyone opposed? No, that is carried. Also call for a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the annual general electors meeting held on the 10th of February 2025. Can I please ask for a mover and a seconder? Councillor Wilkins, Councillor Wright. Thank you. Is there anyone opposed? No, that is carried. We'll now move into announcements by presiding members. Councillors have attended a number of activities in the past month, and I'll just ask, starting with Councillor Wright, who attended the Mandurah Economic Development Breakfast, if he could give us an overview, please.
Through the Mayor. Actually, thanks to Mayor Knight, our CEO and our Director of Strategy and Economic Development for the day, and also to the Strategic Managing Director of the Peel Chamber of Industry and Commerce. It was an interesting morning getting the Economic Outlet breakfast. And throughout the morning, the 8 key opportunities to drive investment within Mandurah came up, creating jobs, supporting businesses. They were both highlighted with ample time for networking to discuss them in more details. The 8 opportunities, which came through clearly and does if you read the paperwork, were to diversify our economy, enhance our tourism offerings, strengthen workforce development and position Mandurah as an innovation hub and looking at sustainable growth while we do it. Most encouraging, I thought, from the breakfast was the collaborative nature of local government, local businesses and the wider community. There were a number of volunteer groups present on the day, just coming together and making sure that we're looking at the prosperity of our region over the longer term. So I look forward to attending next year, but thank you to those who organised the morning. It was very successful and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Next, I'd like to invite Councillor Smith to tell us a little bit about the Paint Mandurah Good It Up Red extravaganza.
Thank you, through the Mayor. On Saturday, February 15th, I had the pleasure of attending the Paint Mandurah Good It Up Red family afternoon with my family at Caterpillar Park on Milgar Reserve, along with Councillor Kearns, Councillor Wright, Tim Hartland and the wonderful team from the communities and library team from the city. This event's a part of a national initiative designed to enhance early literacy and school readiness by encouraging community to engage in activities that support children's brain development. It was a very fun-filled day with lots of interactive activities with singing, dancing, reading, and I must say that Councillor Kearns delivered a particularly impressive rendition of the Dingle Dangle Scarecrow along with an interpretive dance. But one of the highlights for the children was a treasure hunt where they search for a magical egg. The egg will make its way through the Peel region throughout this year, visiting primary schools, libraries, playgroups and shops, and also community events, sparking imagination and fostering conversation about the joys of reading. I was honoured to be invited to read the story Nuruk, the Story of the Egg, a beautiful book created in Mandurah by author Emma Morgan and illustrated by a local student and artist, Madison De Bono. The story emphasises the importance of literacy as a lifelong journey that begins in the early years and thrives through the support of a connected community. It was a heartwarming, positive community event, and I'd just like to commend the team for organising, and thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. That was a lovely overview of the day, so it sounded like it was a lot of fun. Thank you. Now move to Councillor Kearns, who attended the shared approach to our Ending Homelessness Action Plan launch for 2025-27. So over to you, Councillor
Thank you,
Kearns.
through the chair. Yes, a lot of people know that when I ran for council because I had families living in tents in their backyards. And I had multiple families and older people that could not find a home. And unfortunately, regardless of how many services and community groups and organisations in Mandurah, because of the increase in the cost of living and a lot of other multifaceted reasons, we had a huge increase in people that were street present, living in cars or unable to find accommodation. So to go to the Mandurah Shared Approach Ending Homelessness Action Plan launch was something that I felt extremely proud to attend, and I felt extremely excited that we're not pointing the finger at anybody, because we can say it's a state government issue, a federal government issue. We can say that, you know, we can blame everybody for the fact that we're living in these times, but at the end of the day, we all play a part. And I think it's really brave and courageous that the City of Mandurah have put their hand up and said, okay, we all play a part. What's our part? What's your part? And how can we work together for our community? And so this is the action plan, and I definitely recommend anybody who wants to see what we're doing and how we're doing it to get a hand on this. I would love to, while I'm quickly speaking, just say a huge thank you to city staff, to the charities, the organisations and the services that are working tirelessly in this space. These are unprecedented times, and the amount of people that are showing up and being unable to help them tangibly is heartbreaking for a lot of these staff. And so I just want to say a huge thank you to those people that work in this space, and a massive thank you to the city for saying what can we do and how can we work together for our community. So well done. I've got this, and also another little plug while I'm here. We were given this at the launch as well, and if you haven't got one, and I know that we're live streaming, so I thought I could do a plug while I'm on here. This goes through all the services that are in our community, from drugs and alcohol to emergency relief to homelessness outreach. And I just encourage people, if you want to know what's available in Mandurah, grab one of these and just get informed, because we have a lot of places. Anyway, I'm wrapping up. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Kearns, and it certainly was an absolute privilege to be there and made me feel incredibly proud. So thank you to everyone that was involved with that. Next, I'll move to this month's local legend, which is Kevin Fowler from the Mandurah RSL. Kevin has dedicated his life to preserving Mandurah's RSL history through tireless research, writing and volunteering. He is currently leading the Avenue of Honour project at the Mandurah War Memorial, which is a tribute to our local servicemen and women. Kevin is passionate about education and regularly volunteers his time visiting schools to teach students about Australia's wartime history and Mandurah's role in it. His deep research into every Mandurah resident who served in World War I and World War II, along with his self-published autobiography, helps ensure that the region's military history is remembered for generations to come. And later this week, we will be formally presenting Kevin with his certificate at a function at the RSL. Okay, so next we'll move to declarations of interest. So elected members and officers are now asked to declare any real or perceived interest that they may have in respect to any of the reports listed for consideration at this meeting. Should an elected member or officer declare an interest, I would remind them of the need to leave the chamber immediately prior to that item's discussion. And CEO, have you received any declarations of interest?
No, I have not received any declarations.
Okay, next we'll move to questions from elected members, and I have a number of questions that I might start with. So my first question is in relation to the matters put forward this evening from Nalakala Budjak. Can a city officer please advise what advice the city has obtained regarding the obligations under the Aboriginal Heritage Act, and who was that advice from? And I'll direct that question to the Director of Business Services.
Thank you, through the Chair. The Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage has provided the City with advice in February 2024 and has further confirmed the advice as at today. The Department has advised that A, the works proposed for the Mandurah Foreshore Development Leisure Precinct on Leighton Place, which includes the commercial site, did not fall within the actual boundaries of the Aboriginal Heritage Register site ID 3724, which is Winjan's Camp, noting that the public boundaries shown on the Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Inquiry System are in fact larger than the actual boundaries, which is restricted information and not publicly available. And B, based on the current information provided to the City by the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage, no approvals under the Aboriginal Heritage Act 1972 are required for the proposed works at this time. The Department have further advised that a review of the Register of Places and Objects, as well as the DPLH Aboriginal Heritage Database, concludes that the subject area is within the public boundary of the Aboriginal Heritage Register site, Winjan's Camp. However, and most importantly, the works are not within the actual boundary as administered by the Department. For reported Aboriginal sites, there is a restricted information and the actual location of Winjan's is not publicly available, and this is why the City has obtained the advice from the Department. As such, a larger dithered boundary is represented on the publicly accessible Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Inquiry System, and this is what's been handed out to you by the person who's made the deputation. The Department have further confirmed today that the proposed works do not intersect with the actual boundary of Aboriginal site 3724 Winjan's Camp. Therefore, approvals under the Aboriginal Heritage Act 1972 are not required. The Department have further advised that should Ngalagala Budja Aboriginal Corporation wish to revise the actual boundary of the site, they may do so, and if they do, they will need to lodge an Aboriginal Cultural Heritage submission to the Department that can register and that can be updated. If this is registered, there may be the requirement for the City and the proponent to undertake a Section 18 under the Act at a later time. The Department have also confirmed and recommended that the proponent contact DPLH Aboriginal Heritage Conservation Team for their own advice to undertake their own due diligence once the development plans have been finalised and prior to any works. This will ensure that the advice provided at that time is up to date and based on the current information held by the Department.
Thank you. Look, a further question. Is the City, as a local government, required to comply with the Aboriginal Heritage Act? I'll direct that question through to you.
Thank you, through the Chair. Yes, the City of Mandurah is obligated to comply with the Aboriginal Heritage Act 1972. I may wish to clarify that the City made a statement on page 17 of the agenda, and this may have been misunderstood by the community and potentially taken out of context. The City's statement in the agenda stated that it is not bound by the consultation process under Section 18 of the Act, and this was made based on the advice from the Department the City received that we were not required to comply with Section 18. However, in the event that a Section 18 process is required under the Aboriginal Heritage Act, the City and the proponent will be required to comply and act in accordance with the legislation. The City further accepts and acknowledges that if an Aboriginal site is identified within the boundaries of the proposed leased area, the City is bound by and will comply with all provisions and procedures set out in the legislation and any other applicable legislation.
Thank you. And a further question. If the City builds the jetty, will a Section 18 be required?
Yes. It's important to note that the jetty is not included within the proposed leased area. Therefore, the City did not make comment about the requirement to comply with Section 18 in the event that a jetty is constructed. If a jetty is constructed by the City of Mandurah will be required to comply with Section 18 of the Aboriginal Heritage Act.
Thank you. Is the City undertaking further due diligence, and if so, what will this be to ensure that the obligations under the Aboriginal Heritage Act are met?
Thank you. The City will certainly be undertaking further consultation. As I mentioned at the time, Council resolved to proceed with the major land transaction. It was acting on the advice from the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage that the proposed works or lease area to be carried out by the proponent did not fall within the boundaries of any registered Aboriginal site. The City has committed to undertaking further due diligence, and this was detailed in the Council report of the 27th of August, and we've further clarified in the report presented to Council this evening, item 1, and the City has detailed a number of measures that align with the requirements for due diligence. This imposes the requirement for the proponent to undertake their own due diligence of the site. This will assist them to understand the Aboriginal heritage values, which is publicly available at that point in time, but they are also encouraged to contact the department, and this will enable the proponent to receive any updated information that may be available at that time relating to Aboriginal heritage. The proponent will also be required to develop a construction management plan. This plan incorporates measures and protections in the event that Aboriginal heritage is identified during the construction phase and discovered. These measures include, but there are many, however I won't list them all, but this may include, but is not limited to, engagement with local Aboriginal people, presenting during construction to undertake monitoring of any initial ground disturbance works. Further, as outlined in the Council report, both the February report tabled to Council and in the August report last year, the proponent has fully committed to undertaking consultation with Aboriginal elders, including understanding the Mandurah history and stories, dual naming, celebrating National Reconciliation Week, acknowledgement of country at all events, websites, menus and materials, be an equal opportunity employer, increase knowledge of Aboriginal culture through ongoing staff training, and incorporate features of welcome to country into landscaping and within the mini golf course as well.
Thank you. Further questions that we've received so far are from Councillor Wilkins. Councillor Wilkins, would you like to ask the question that you've submitted?
Apologies for this, Mayor. It seems insignificant compared to what else we're considering tonight, but community have asked me to ask this question. Mosquitoes are a massive concern for our community at the moment. I know the City of Mandurah have been actively trying to combat the current mosquito plague with regular treatments. I'd like to ask if the City of Mandurah are confident we will see a decrease in mosquito numbers soon, and if the City of Mandurah is investigating alternative ways to mitigate this health and amenity issue.
Thank you, and I'll direct that to Brendan Ingle.
Through you, Madam Mayor. If I can just give a little bit of background to the season. So this season's obviously been extremely challenging. We've had persistent flooding of mosquito breeding sites that have driven increased hatching of mosquito larvae. This is across the Peel region, but it's also been seen across the state, in particular the metro area. We've done 15 helicopter treatments. We completed one today, and we've covered 5,896 hectares, not including today. Last year, we did 17 treatments covering 3,600 hectares. So we've done 63% more treatment to this point in the year than the entire year last year. So tidal inundation drives mosquito breeding in the Peel region, and to give you some indication of the difference in tidal inundation from last year to this year, between the 1st of November and the 31st of January in 2023-24, we had 2 tides over 1 metre in the Peel region. This year we've had 26. These tides trigger very large hatching events. The treatments that we're doing are completed using the most effective larviciding products relating to the weather conditions and to the larval stage of the mosquitoes that are presenting at the time. We use a helicopter for the delivery of the product, and this has been identified as the most effective way to apply the product to the breeding area of the scale that we have. With the extent and frequency of the breeding, even when we kill 90% of larvae, this still results in a large increase in mosquitoes. We've noted commentary that treatments aren't working, but we can say by our assessment of kill rates, they are working, and they are removing a high proportion of the mosquitoes that would normally become adults. and would also affect residents and visitors. Adult mosquitoes have a lifespan of approximately 3 to 4 weeks. Unfortunately, we're continuing to see tidal inundation. Recent conditions have been very extreme, as I've outlined, and we'll continue to treat. And we just hope that more favourable conditions will present and we'll see numbers reduce. We're very confident that the treatment program that we have in place is the best available. The most effective way in the interim to protect your families and community is applying repellents using deep picotaridin and lemon eucalyptus, covering long loose-fitting clothing, and also avoiding peak mosquito times. And I can't reinforce enough the importance of personal protective measures at the moment, as it is the best way to keep yourself safe at this time.
Thank you. The next question that we have is from Councillor Kearns in relation to the repair status update, and I'll go to Councillor Kearns.
Thank you, through the chair. I know this question has been asked several times in the past, and I'm just going to ask again. Could the city provide an update on the repair status of the drainage cutter and the curbing near the Crabnet sculpture intersection off Mandurah Drive? It's posing a significant safety hazard, which we all know. What steps are being taken to address this issue, especially considering the increased danger it presents to our community?
Thank you, Councillor Kearns, and I'll direct that to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, the Mandurah Road-Mandurah Road intersection is the responsibility of Main Roads WA, and city officers have been advised by Main Roads that they are progressing the procurement of the required repair works. City officers are presently waiting on an update from Main Roads WA on the expected timeline for the repair works to be completed, and will provide an update as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from elected members? Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you, through the chair. Just obviously a bit of the CEO. In the report in relation to the major land transaction and Western Foreshore precinct plan, it states on the 23rd of August there was a meeting with MEAG, which is the Mandurah Environmental Action Group. But what was the outcome of that meeting? Because I don't recall seeing anything in the report from MEAG.
Through to the CEO.
I'm just going to check what page in the actual council report for MEAG for consultation.
No, it states in the report that a meeting, the city had a meeting with MEAG on the 23rd, let me put my glasses on, 23rd of the 8th, 2024, but there was, unless I missed it, there was no feedback from MEAG in the report.
If you can just give me a couple of minutes to find the context.
Councillor Schumacher, do you know what page that was on in the report?
I'm sorry, Mayor, but my memory's not that good.
Thank you.
Sorry for the delay. So it was, I tried to find it in this council report, and that's where I couldn't find it, but the 27th of August 2024 council report does reference the Mandurah Environmental Advisory Group and their response. It was presented at their meeting on the 23rd of August 2024, and the summary of the feedback was that the Mandurah Environmental Advisory Group acknowledged the briefing and were informed of the proposal. That was their comment.
So thank you. That's just to clarify, there was no feedback for or against by MEAG.
That was the summary of the feedback and comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Are there any other questions? Councillor Wright?
Just with regards to something Mr Nannup said earlier, I'm just wondering whether there was any other feedback from Winjan Corporation and how long the city's been engaging with them.
Through to the CEO.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. The city, I have spoken to Winjan representatives twice in relation to this item, and we discussed the proposal, and there was always a conversation around that the foreshore is for the people. However, there was no indication of not supporting the proposal in our engagement with them. We have always committed to being at and having continuous conversations as the project progresses, and at the annual electors meeting and at Coolbardies last week, I did commit to making sure that every Binjarra elder is informed of the conversation with the proposed proponent if the project proceeds, and that they would be invited to further consultation.
Thank you, CEO. Any further questions? Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Chair. It's in a similar vein. In the August 2024 report, the initial draft sent to councillors, the letter from the RSL was initially mischaracterised as a letter of support, and that was appropriately revised. Since that time, and given the nature of the public debate and the meeting from last week, has there been any other further consultation since our council's decision in August with the RSL, and have you received a letter of support or conversely one in opposition?
Thank you, Councillor Burns. Through the CEO.
Thank you, through the Mayor. The position of Mandurah RSL, as the President provided me, was that they remain apolitical and they won't provide a position.
Supplementary.
A further question, Councillor Burns?
And similarly, while it's appropriate, obviously, to reference the Mandurah RSL, have there been any further conversations with other veterans groups in the district?
Thank you, Councillor Burns. Through the CEO.
Through you, Mayor, the Mandurah RSL and the Dawesville RSL they attended a meeting with the Mayor and myself, and we went through the Western Foreshore Leisure Precinct, and they provided input in relation to some improvements that we could make to the War Memorial and the use of the foreshore. So that was their input as part of the engagement.
Thank you, CEO. Are there any other questions from elected members? No. If there are no further questions, we'll move to item 16, which is business left over from the previous meeting, and there is none. Next, we'll move to item 17, reports from the Chief Executive Officer. We'll now move into reports, and when voting, I ask elected members to raise their hands to vote. Report 1, motions carried at the annual general electors meeting of the 10th of February 2025. Before I call for a mover and a seconder, I would like to explain the council resolution process. Report 1 sets out the motions presented at the annual general electors meeting on the 10th of February 2025 and provides a city officer comment and response to the motions put forward by the community. It's important to note that the motions carried at the electors meeting are requesting that council revoke its decision to proceed with the Western Foreshore commercial site major land transaction and or undertake further consultation, and that council retake the vote to proceed with the transaction. The motions carried at the electors' meeting do not reflect the procedural requirements for revoking council's decisions as set out in the Local Government Act 1995 and regulations due to the number of elected members that need to support the revocation of the voting requirement. The council resolution is set out in two parts. Part A, acknowledging the motions carried at the electors' meeting, requesting that council acknowledge the motions raised at the meeting, and Part B, motions prepared by city officers which give effect to the intent of the motions carried at the meeting, to request that council revoke the Western Foreshore commercial site major land transaction and is compliant with the procedures in the Act and the regulations. City officers have therefore prepared a motion, Part B, for Council's consideration that would give effect to the intent of the electors' meeting motion 1 and 2 to revoke Council's previous decision to proceed with the major land transaction, but it is procedurally compliant. In accordance with Regulation 10 of the Local Government Administration Regulations, a motion to revoke a decision of council requires one mover and 4 seconders for the motion part to be heard, and for the motion to be passed, it requires an absolute majority of council. The motion, if passed by absolute majority, would result in council revoking its previous decision to proceed with the Western Foreshore commercial site major land transaction. If the motion fails to obtain the required number of movers and seconders, the motion will lapse and will not be heard. If the motion does not achieve the absolute majority, the motion will lapse. In either case, the Western Foreshore major land transaction will continue as per Council's decision made on the 27th of August 2024, which would remain in effect. And CEO, are you confident that the council report addresses the required processes, and is there anything else that you would like to add at this point?
I am confident that it does address all the requirements, and there's no further information that I will provide.
Thank you, CEO. So, council, we now move to Part A, and I will move that we acknowledge the motions, and I will call for a seconder. Councillor Wright, is there anything that you would like to say? Second.
Nothing too specific other than I've welcomed the opportunity to obtain a bit more information from the electors' meeting, attending the rally and hearing from a number of residents. So I'm looking forward to this being
Thank you. So me being the mover and the seconder, I will now put that to the vote that we acknowledge the motions that were carried at the electors' meeting. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. And council will now move to Part B, which is giving effect to the intent of the motion carried at the annual electors' meeting to revoke the Western Foreshore commercial site major land transaction. As outlined previously, to be successful, this will require a mover and 4 seconders. I will now call for a mover. Councillor Schumacher. I will now call for the first seconder. Councillor Zolani. Is there another seconder? Councillor Cumberworth. And do we have another seconder? Councillor Burns. And do we have a 4th seconder? We do not have a 4th seconder, so without the required number of seconders, I declare that this motion is lost. I would now like to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes, and the minute officer, will you please confirm that the live streaming has now been... So, Minute Officer, can you please recommence the live streaming? So thank you, councillors, city officers, members of the public gallery, and for those that are at home viewing via the live stream. Before we move into report 2, I would like to explain the resolution of council. The motion to rescind the Western Foreshore commercial site major land transaction decision of council is lost. This means that the project will proceed to the next stage. The community will have the opportunity to provide further comment once the state government advertises the land acquisition. At this stage, the city is not aware of the timeframe. However, we will ensure that the community is updated, and please note that there will be no further discussion on this report. So thank you. We now move to report item 2, the appointment of the Electoral Commissioner to conduct the 2025 ordinary election. I now call for a mover, Councillor Pond, and a seconder, Councillor Rogers. Councillor Pond, would you like to speak to the item?
I have very little to say other than it makes a lot of sense to go to the postal vote and have the Electoral Commission take care of that on behalf of the city. So I'm quite happy to proceed with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pond. Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm also happy to second and support this motion. The Western Australian Electoral Commission, the sort of clue is in the title, elections is their bag. So it makes much more sense to have an external independent body responsible for the conduct and the integrity of the election for the City of Mandurah, of which we've entered into an election year. I know that there's been moves recently from other local governments to try and do these in-house and do them on the day. Those often, from the reports that I've seen back, often are less successful and have vastly less turnout that comes in. So supportive of the WAEC taking it on and also that it is conducted by postal election as well. And just a clarifying question from me, I see it in the report that the definition of postal includes voting on the day as well. And I suppose the question is, will that still be the case? Will we have the day of voting that's going on just before the count occurs? Because I think even though it's only a handful of people, maybe 100 or so that come in to vote, it's still important for the full enfranchisement of the City of Mandurah residents to come along and have their say if they don't want to post something in. So question, is that the case?
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. I'll put that through to the CEO. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, a replacement ballot paper will be available to anyone to vote on the day, and so that will still remain the same as previous elections.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak against the item? Are there any questions? If not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is carried. Thank you. We'll now move to report item number 3, the financial report for December 2024. Before I call for a mover and a seconder, I would like to invite the Manager of Financial Services to provide a presentation to the City's Financial Performance and Tenders Award. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, the finance report, this will be covering both December and January's finance report. So quick look at the operating graphs. Current as at January, we can see that operating income is right on the line. Operating expenditure is just below the line where we would like to see them. Moving across to capital. Capital income, non-operating income is flatlining as at January. However, we expect that to pick up towards the end of the year as more of our capital projects are completed. Capital expenditure, worth noting that we are currently around the $20 million mark for the year already. We do expect an uptick as always at the end of the year as those projects get completed as well. A quick look at the interest trends. Interest, we have saved through our loan offset facility so far this year is $135,971. term deposit interests are attracting rates of around 5%. For the rates receivable, January 24 we were 83.4% collected. January 25 we are currently 77.6% collected. We are a little bit behind this year in terms of our instalments, so that's why we're a little bit lower. But you can see by the graph it is following the same trend as last year. For the rates collected, properties with a debt of greater than 10,000 and 3 to 10,000, we are following the same projection as last year. So we do expect to be somewhere around June in the same position. We have no budget variations in December and January. That is because we are currently conducting a budget review that will be presented to Council in March. For the December report, we did have 3 tenders. And if we just go to the next slide, for the January, there are no tenders presented in that one. And I'd also like to state that the City's procurement team observed the tender evaluation process and is satisfied that the probity and procedural aspects relating to the evaluation were compliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Can I please call, or are there any questions, first of all, of Jared? Councillor Shoemaker?
Thank you, through the Chair. Of the 3 tenders that are awarded, were any local businesses or Peel-based businesses?
Thank you.
Sorry, through Thank you. Further question, Councillor Shoemaker? No, has anyone else got a question? Councillor Cumberworth?
I believe I have a conflict of interest regarding the Yalgarup Quail Road tender.
So you'd like to put in a conflict of interest?
Yep.
So, Councillor Cumberworth, what kind of interest do you have?
Yeah, I declare a financial interest.
Financial interest. You will then need to leave the room. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I will also, fail to declare a impartiality interest, with the impact being on the financial statement, as I am the council representative on the board. And I also have a question in relation to that as well.
So, thank you, Councillor Wilkins. Yes, you can remain in the room, so for that, thank you. And you may ask a question, so yes. Your microphone is not on.
Sorry, I just lost. It's just in regard to the fire detection and protection system upgrade. I know the MPAC have suffered a few malfunctions, I guess, in regards to that, and with the risk of future disturbances and potential reputational damage, are we looking at trying to make that an urgent priority?
Through the...
I keep going over there. Sorry, through the Director of Built and Natural Environment. Sorry, need to pay attention.
Through the Mayor, so the city officers have already engaged a expert consultant to undertake the review of the fire detection and protection system. We are expecting the outcomes of that review in the coming months, and we would be expecting further upgrade works. It is a very complex system and compounded by the fact that there are things like smoke and other visual and other aids with the performances that complicate sort of de-arming of parts of the system, which I also understand have also led to some issues around the function of that system. But we're onto it, and we expect some outcomes very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkins, any further questions? No. Councillor Rogers, you have a question?
Yeah, just in relation to the flatlining of the non-operational revenue, Mayor, through to the Manager of Financial Services, if possible. It's just wondering, you said that's, if I've caught it correctly, you said that's going to pop back up. Is there any particular reason why that's flatlining, or is that just timing of when we're getting revenue grants in and whatnot? Yeah.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, yes, it's mainly due to timing. Most of the capital income that we receive are based on milestones on our capital projects. So as we progress through the capital projects, we obtain the funds. So it is just a lot of timing over November, December and January, especially with Christmas in there as well, where those funds just weren't received.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the Manager of Financial Services? No, there are none. Okay, so could I please have a call for a mover?
Sorry, just a point of order, Mayor. I think it's C for the point of orders about the application of written laws. Councillor Cumberworth's declared a financial interest, but we've spoken in the past about individuals declaring an interest and having to leave for the whole of the financial report when really they only need to leave for a section that's relevant to the financial interest that they have. I'm just wondering if that should be afforded to Councillor Cumberworth to attend the rest of the financial
Thank you, and I will just take
reports.
some advice from the CEO, so thank you.
Yes, I can ask Councillor Cumberworth whether he would like to be in the room for all the other parts apart from the tender recognition, and I'll get a response.
So Councillor Cumberworth, we will break the item to allow you to be here for the main part of it and then separate them off, and I'll just go to the CEO for advice on that.
I've just been advised that Councillor Cumberworth doesn't have a financial interest in and if Councillor Cumberworth, if you'd like to say anything else.
Yeah, I misunderstood. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the clarity. That's better to be sure. So with that said, I would now like to call for a mover of the item. The financial report for December 2024. Calling for a mover. Councillor Rogers, and a seconder, Councillor Schumacher. Councillor Rogers, do you wish to speak to the item?
No, nothing too much to say to this, just to support the recommendation. Most of the commentary will be in the January report. However, given that we didn't have a council meeting in January, this is why we're getting this set of reports coming in, which came through from the Christmas period. So nothing to say other than that.
Thank you. Councillor Schumacher.
Nothing further, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions from elected members? Any further questions? Anyone wishing to speak against the item? If that's the case, I'll put the item to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. It's carried unanimously. Thank you. We will now move to report the item 4, the financial report for January 2025. Is there anything further that the Manager of Financial Services wishes to add? There isn't anything. Okay, well, I'll call for a mover of that report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Rogers, and a seconder. Councillor Wright. Councillor Rogers, do you wish to speak to it?
Thank you. Thanks to the Manager of Finance and for all our accountants who work at the City of Mandurah. Good reports, as always, month on month. An easier set of reports for this month, given the time of the year, and that most of the action is going to come in March when we have our budget review. Rates collection, as you saw in the reports, doing relatively well compared to trend, and there's obviously no tenders to consider in the report. So all is good. The only other extra part that formed part of the recommendation was the disposal of the property and the approval that goes into that. It's required from council, so supportive of that as well.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak?
Only thanks to the officers for the financial implications briefings that we receive. Thank you very much. Nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Is there anyone with a question? Anyone wishing to speak against the item? Just a question. Councillor Wilkins.
Sorry, Mayor. Just in relation to the Norwich Reserve upgrade, which is for a design only, does that also include community consultation, given the importance of that reserve to the local community?
Thank you for the question. I'll put that through to the Director of Built and Natural Environment.
Through the Mayor, yes, there will be community consultation undertaken as part of that design process this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? No speakers against. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. Next, we'll move to item 20, motions of which notice has been given, and we have none. 21, notice of motion for consideration at the following meeting. Does anyone wish to give a notice of motion that they would like included in the agenda for the next ordinary council meeting? No, there is none. Late and urgent business items, there is none. Confidential items, there is one confidential item. And as there is an item of confidential business, I will ask for a mover and a seconder that the meeting proceeds behind closed doors in accordance with section 5.23 of the Local Government Act 1995. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, I need to, can I please ask for a mover? Councillor Smith, Councillor Cumberworth. All those in favour? That's carried, thank you. So on behalf of Council, I'd like to thank members of the public, press, officers and staff for attending, and I ask that they now leave the chamber. Yes. Thank you. Can I please ask for a mover and a seconder that council endorses the recommendations made behind closed doors? Councillor Jackson, Councillor Wilkins. Put that to the vote. That is carried. Thank you very much. 24, it is the close of the meeting. Thank you. That concludes the meeting, and I declare all business has concluded, and the close of the meeting is at 11 minutes